So if you look at your funnel, so this is 100% of the homes we looked at. I really underwrote just 20, fully underwrite 20. The financial part is one part of finding a good assisted living. The second part is who's going to run it and what's the story behind it. You got to find the story that backs the numbers. And then also, if the person who's going to run it is going to be your partner, and you have to make sure that your values align.
Welcome to the RAL Room Assisted Living Podcast with your hosts, Charlie Cameron and Alex 𝐒𝐿. This is your go-to show for cutting-edge insights from industry leaders in residential assisted living.
Whether you're ready to launch your own assisted living business or looking to invest in this fast-growing, high-impact sector, we are here to equip you with the tools, strategies, and confidence you need to succeed. Get ready to ride the silver tsunami and change the future of senior care. Now on to today's show. Welcome back to today's episode of the RAL Room Assisted Living Podcast. I'm your host, Alex 𝐒𝐿, and today we are so thrilled to have Jon De Los Reyes with us on the podcast. Jon, can you give us a brief introduction to you, where you're at right now in your assisted living journey before we jump back in time to how it all started?
Yeah. First of all, thank you, Alex, for having me on the show. I've been following your journey as well, and it's awesome. You're helping so many people and inspiring so many people who are going through this journey. So my name is Jon. So unlike other guests, I'm also going through the same things that other people are going through in your group. So we are going through the licensing. We are launching our first one here in Houston, although we've invested in two and co-own two assisted living homes in another city in Texas as well. So we are not operating those, but we are operating this full time.
That's awesome. Yeah, really excited to dive into your journey and learn more about what you're doing. And congrats on the home getting ready to open up too. That's a big step, going from leasing a home out to owning and operating a home. So I'm really excited to dive deep into that. Awesome, man. It's been fun following your journey too. It's been very inspiring and very cool to see what you're doing. So thank you for your time so much. Awesome. Jon, tell us a bit about your journey into the world of residential assisted living. How did you get started?
So Alex, entrepreneurs wear a lot of hats. I've worn a lot of uniforms. So let's put it that way. So I started as an engineer. So I was wearing manufacturing clothes with my name on it, with reflective stripes. And I was studying metallurgical failures. So that's how technical it was, study of metals. And then I said, you know what, man, is this it? I want to do more. I want to earn more as well. So I said, you know what, I'm going to take my MBA, and then I'm going to focus on investment management, because I thought that's what successful and wealthy people do, focus on investment. So I dug in heavily on investments, and I got to run a stock portfolio. And we're actually trading other people's funds. And my first ever trade was worth more than our house was worth back then. And this is other people's money. So this is pretty scary. So we were picking stocks and building the optimal portfolio. But after a year of doing that during my MBA, I realized that 90% of fund managers underperform versus the S&P 500, which is the index, for over 10 years. And 95% fail over 20 years. So I was like, okay, so why don't I just buy the market? So I'm just going to do that. But when you evaluate the market, 10%, is that really enough? So we're going to be working till we're 65, 70 years old before we can actually enjoy the fruits of our labor. And I didn't want that. So I started MBA full fire. I'm going to do investments. I graduated MBA like twirling my fingers. What am I going to do next? I looked for how to build wealth, passive investments. And then I came across the book, The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferriss. And if I were to write my book, or when I write my book in the future, it's going to call Boxes to Buildings and Blessings. So let's keep that throughout the theme of this podcast. So the boxes came from, so Tim Ferriss sold e-commerce, right? Sold on e-commerce. So that's my first business. So we built an Amazon business, and then we sold products on Amazon. We designed it ourselves. And then, 5 years later, we're still here. So the strategy was to focus on the cash flow first so I can focus on real estate. So once the Amazon is running, I quit my job May 2022. And if you're following real estate, I jumped into multifamily. And then as soon as I quit, we had the quickest interest rate hike ever in the history. And I was like, what am I doing? I just quit my job. How am I going to go through this? At that point, we were in multifamily and we did not have any acquisitions for 18 months. And honestly, I jumped into multifamily because it was sexy. It was like, I'm part owner of this 300 unit property, blah, blah, blah. But even though I own a smidge of it, and if someone asked me if I can sleep in one of the units, no, that's not part of the deal. That's not part of the deal. So
I own the bathroom. Yeah.
I own it, maybe not even
Yeah.
the bathroom, maybe just half the floor, something like that. So yeah, so I was attracted to that market, but things turned. It was so tough. And throughout this journey, my wife is my number one supporter. She kept saying, just keep on going. Because if you have one foot out the door and one foot in, you're going to go back to the least resistance, which is finding a job, finding a secure job. So she kept on pushing me to move forward. Yeah. So after that, since it was quiet in the multifamily space, we looked at other asset classes and we found assisted living, residential assisted living. So my wife is in healthcare and I was in commercial real estate, and this is a good blend of both. So we're serving and we're also building assets. But yeah, so that in a nutshell, that's how we found assisted living. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah. What a great team, you and your spouse. And I tell folks all the time, the best person you can have on your team, or like the person who's going to make you level up the most, is going to be your spouse. And having that supportive spouse is a complete game changer, because you're exactly right. Like our brain is designed to protect us. And so it's probably saying, run back to your engineering job, run back to your salary, not let's go try this completely new venture. And I'm glad that you stuck with it. What was it like purchasing those first assisted living homes that you leased out?
Yeah, absolutely. And also, Alex, I wanted to add to a component to that. As we're taking risks and as we're expanding the business and all that, my approach was a conservative way. So my wife was working as I was pursuing real estate. So we still had the income coming in from her job and also our Amazon business. So we focused on the cash flow first before we worked on building the assets, building the wealth, because assets, your net worth won't be paying for your expenses, won't be paying for your utility bills. So you got to focus on the cash flow. So once you have that, then you jump into this one. One of my biggest strengths coming from the commercial real estate space is underwriting. So I'd like to think I'm a very strong underwriter. I was good at it. I can find good deals. I can work on Microsoft Excel all day. But Alex, I wasn't passionate about it. I was good at it, but I wasn't passionate about it. And those are two different things. Here, I'm really passionate about this because I'm also into protecting my health, protecting my mental health, my body. So I'm into that. And that is directly applicable to what we're doing now. Buying those two homes was nerve-wracking because we looked at this Aspen Cove is our 119th home. The Austin ones, the one in Austin, so we invested in, was 116 and 117. So we looked at more than 100
That's a lot.
homes. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot to determine if this is the right fit for us. And you may ask, how did I analyze and underwrite all those homes? I did not. So I created a quick calculator that I would just punch in a few numbers. It would take me 5 minutes, and then it would tell me if this is something that worth pursuing and doing the full underwriting or not. So that's how I was able to quickly do it. So if you look at your funnel, so this is 100% of the homes we looked at. I really underwrote just 20, fully underwrite 20. The financial part is one part of finding a good assisted living. The second part is who's going to run it and what's the story behind it. You got to find the story that backs the numbers. And then also, if the person who's going to run it is going to be your partner, and you have to make sure that your values align, right? Your values align, and then they're doing this for the right thing, that right purpose, that you're doing it as well. It was nerve-wracking, but it's been a great investment for us because, and I'm being completely honest with you guys, I came in We came in as investors because multifamily slowed down. We came in here, but we saw the impact that it could do to families. That's why my wife and I said, why don't we start our own here in Houston? Because I think we need some help. We've been to, I'm not going to name names, obviously, but we've been to other facilities. And then when you walk in, it's like a room of 30. And then the caregivers are just sitting down or not attentive to the residents. Like, how is this acceptable? How is this acceptable? The main thing that pushed me to jump into this space is really my grandmother. In her last few months, so I grew up in the Philippines. This was right before the COVID shutdown, Feb of 2020. I had a feeling that we were going to have a world shutdown. Like, this is some crazy idea. And sure enough, it happened. So I went there, I saw her for a couple of days, and then she was already bedbound at that time. And as they were rotating her so she doesn't get bed sores, she was wincing in pain. She was wincing in pain from maybe not the right position or something, but I told myself there just got to be something better. My wife is also very attached to her grandmother. Our focus has always been, when we make our own assisted living home, we want this to be a place where they would move in, right? That's why we have on our first home, we have Michelle's grandmother's picture in there just to remind us the quality and the level of care that we want to provide our own family members as well. So when we do tours,
That's
that's
great.
where we all end. Yeah.
Yeah, that's well, what a great way to honor her and to a constant reminder of, hey, this is why we got into this business and we're here to change senior living and we're here to provide that really exceptional care. That is awesome. Investing in those two deals in Austin, what did that look like for you? How did you fund those deals? Are those leased to an operator? If you don't mind just sharing the structure of that a little bit, I think that'd be helpful for folks.
Yeah. So I learned so there's multiple ways. And I'm sharing this because this is what worked for multifamily, but this would also work for assisted living if you're starting as an investor. So one is obviously if you have cash sitting that you want to use for an investment, that's what you got to do. But how we got started with multifamily was using a self-directed IRA, right? So that's essentially 401k, transferring our 401k funds from one retirement account to another retirement account with no penalties or no taxes because it's an RA to an RA. And from there, we invest into that LLC that owns the property. I believe you can do that with assisted living, but this is what we did with multifamily. For the Austin homes, we got creative. We did a cash out refi. So we have equity in the home that we were living in. We live in the largest medical center in the world, which is Houston. And we've been there for 10 years at that time. So we had equity built in the home. And then we did a cash out refi, and that's what we used to purchase those two homes in Austin. So when we got them, it was empty. So we bought the home, we bought the business, right? There's two different business because there's two different homes, and then the real estate is separate from that. But man, when I walked in, and this is also a tip for everyone listening, don't always go by the first impression of a home, because when we walked in, that home was like, why are we buying this again? It was a 1977 home, I think. And then there was a bunch of walls. It's not an open layout. It's not what we imagined it to be. But if you look at it from a bird's eye, the aerial view of the layout, it's perfect. We could add more natural windows, change this, change that. And then we renovated the entire home. It took about 3.5 months to renovate. And then we were not even finished cleaning the home, and our first resident walked in already. So she walked in, and that was a good feeling. So we bought the home, we renovated it for 3.5 months, and get a really good GC. Don't always go with the lowest, don't always go with the highest. Get someone that you can rely on, because we had so much issues with that first GC. That's why it got delayed. But yeah, we renovated it, and then we opened it up after 3.5 months. So,
Yeah, I was just going to say that's a great tip about the general contractor. We usually say there's three things you want in your GC. You want time, you want quality, and you want low cost, but you can only pick two out of those three. You can never have all three. So if you pick the low cost, it's going to take a lot longer, or the quality is going to be bad. If you pick the high cost, it might take longer. And so it's just a tough situation, but finding the right general contractor, especially doing some of these larger renovations or if you have to do fire suppression systems and all that, it can really set you back if there's not a sense of urgency there. So that's a really great tip for folks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you got to be there. I know it's probably overkill, but when we were renovating Aspen Cove, I was here almost every day, and I live an hour away. So I was here almost every day checking on them, making sure, because you're going to see little things, and then you want to catch them before they maybe close the wall, right? Because if they do that, it's too late. Yeah. So a lot of time goes into this home as well. So that's
absolutely.
That's the first one in Austin.
That's great. Yeah. So first resident ready to go before you guys even finish cleaning up. Was it difficult getting more residents for those homes and getting that marketed, or did kind of word of mouth help you over time?
Hey there, sorry to interrupt this episode, but I've got a question for you. Do you want to share in the wealth and incredible returns from the highest demand asset class in real estate without the hassle of doing it all yourself, or at least not yet? Residential assisted living is booming, and it's only gaining momentum. That's why we created an investment fund at Open Range Capital, so you can benefit without the heavy lifting. With the silver tsunami upon us, demand for assisted living is far outpacing supply, making this the can't miss opportunity for the next few decades. We provide access to fully vetted investment opportunities that are primed for success and ready to deliver strong passive returns. Don't wait, ride the wave with us. Visit theralroom.com/invest to partner with us on future investment opportunities. Again, that's theralroom.com/invest. We look forward to connecting with you. Now back to the episode.
So to be honest with you, we got a little bit lucky. But we say luck is an intersection of hard work and timing, right? So like I said, we looked at over 100 homes. We talked to many people, and then we just felt so connected with our partners in Austin. They run it. They already have a brand name. They already have a good reputation in the industry, and they have a home that was fully functioning and it's always full. So the overflow actually goes to this new location, right? So it wasn't
That's perfect.
that it took 3 months to be full. It was also licensed too. The first one was already licensed. So that it made it much simpler. So in 3 months, we got to 90% occupancy.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's good because, and no credit to myself. All the credit goes to them because they're amazing people. They're amazing operators. We learn a lot from them. And also a good strategy is we have out of the 3 homes under that brand, 2 is what we own, and 1 is memory care. And these 2 are 3 minutes away from each other. And because they're within a certain radius, expenses drastically drop. So we looked at your marketing budget, the chef, you share chefs as well. And by having 3 locations within a certain radius, expenses drop by about 3 to 4%. Because
that's great. Yeah, those economies. Yeah, economies of scale. Jinx. Yeah, that's great.
Can you give me 1 second? I just got an alarm.
Absolutely.
We can edit this real quick, okay?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll mark it.
All right, hold on. I'm back. All right. I was standing here. Okay.
Awesome. Everything all good?
Yeah. He just moved.
Good. All right. Good deal. Awesome. Well, welcome back. No, that's great. How many beds do you guys have in the Austin properties, in the memory care and the assisted living home?
On the assisted living and 11 on the memory care. And the memory care is going through licensing as well on that one, but we have residents in there as well. So 12 in the assisted living, 11 in memory care, and Aspen Cove here, and we have 11 as well.
That's great. And you guys in Aspen are working right now on licensing and filling up the home. How has that been? What was the mindset or the thought? You mentioned it a little bit. You and your wife decided, hey, we can do this on our own. Let's own and operate. How was that mindset shift? And then how did that go as you were transitioning into owning the real estate and the operations as well?
So it's been quite a journey. And I'm going to be completely honest with you. I don't think I've shared this to a lot of people, but I think this will help. If you want to go fast, go by yourself, right? If you want to go far, go with others. So 𝐕𝐲𝐶𝐽, if you look at our logo, there's actually 4 leaves, and that's the 4 of us. So there's 4 owners of 𝐕𝐲𝐶𝐽, 2 couples, me and my wife Michelle, and then our amazing partners Hong and Win. And each one of us have different minds. I'm the more positive one. I'm going to throw a lot of ideas there. 90% of them are bad. And then they're going to be the ones to, say, for example, Win. He's an engineer. He goes through the fine print of stuff. So he catches things that I don't. And then Hong is super detailed. Hong is a pharmacist. And then Michelle is a nurse practitioner. So we have 2. There's me. And then there's Win, the really technical guy, a pharmacist and a nurse practitioner. So we may not be medical, but we're medically inclined. And this has been a great partnership. What worked for us, Alex, is we have obviously different minds, but we learned that in a partner, and I'm sure you have this with your partner as well, you have to have clearly defined responsibilities, respect for each other. If this is important for one person, more important to one person than the others, and that person is the expert, just go with it. You don't have to spend a long time arguing. And open lines of communication, and that's what worked for us. So 𝐕𝐲𝐶𝐽 is like this because of the 4 of us. If you remove one, it's not going to be the same. We did have other partners prior. For some reason, it didn't work. And it was probably the toughest time that Michelle and I had as operators and business owners. And this was recent. We love our partners. They are ex-partners. Nothing has changed, but it just didn't work out. It wasn't going to work out. And I'm going to share some lessons about taking someone's investment, right? Because we have some investors for 𝐕𝐲𝐶𝐽 as well. I'm going to share some lessons there. And I'm going to share some lessons about partnership and also perseverance. Because when the partnership broke apart, we remember the very next day of the breakup, we had a Zoom call with a foundation, tremendous foundation that we're supporting in the Philippines that helps poorest of the poor kids who live in slums to break the cycle of poverty. And we were under so much pain, but we had to smile and be positive when we have a Zoom call with them, because this is about them, not about us. We got to put our masks on, and then we just got to be positive and continue to inspire them. And so we talked to them for 30 minutes. And then at the end of that meeting, Alex, they just prayed over us. And that prayer meant so much to me and Michelle, and they don't even know it. So after the call, I looked at Michelle. I was like, we got to keep on going, because we almost gave it up. We almost found another operator to run 𝐕𝐲𝐶𝐽.
That's a beautiful story and a really challenging time. So thank you for being willing to share, because I think folks really gain a lot learning from others and some of the struggles that folks go through. It really helps people not get in those situations, or at least think through, how would I overcome something as challenging as this, like you guys did.
Absolutely. And did we know what to do? Absolutely not, man. We were stuck, half renovated home with no funding. And I was telling my GC, hey, man, I can't pay you right now. If you want to stop, you can go ahead until we find the funding. And he said, you know what, man, I'm going to help you. I'm going to continue. And when you have it, just pay me. Super, super kind-hearted person. So that was a big blessing. At that time, we already took investors' money. And if you're going to take investors' money, you are a fiduciary and a guardian of that money, and you do whatever you can to protect it. So we had one investor that I never met in person, but we stayed connected every month via Zoom. So I told Michelle, I got to tell him what happened, but not over Zoom. I'm going to fly in the middle. He lives in the middle of nowhere. And then I'm going to meet him. So I texted him, hey, I'm going to be there. Let's have lunch. Like, you're going to be here. What are you doing? What are you going to do? So just trust me. I'm just passing by. I'm going to talk to you. So I went there and I told him that, don't worry, your funds are safe. I'm going to do whatever I can to protect it. After that conversation, so that's where you develop trust, by being authentic to the person. He even thought about putting in more. So after that, I think we're okay for now. We'll figure it out. So yeah, so I went back there. I went there to him, told him what happened. I reassured him that it's going to work out because I truly believe it will be. And then I went back home to work. And then that's when we met our wonderful partners, Hong and Win. That's when they came in. It's a great partnership. We've been together since the multifamily days, and they've been thinking about doing this as well. But 𝐴𝐴𝐵𝐶𝐶 is what it is now because it's the four of us. It's not just me. It's not just Michelle. It's not just them. It's just the four of us. It's been the most rewarding thing, but also the most challenging. We do a lot of challenging things in our career, in our lives, but they're not as rewarding. And if you keep on going through that, it's going to be hard to make it last, right? So you got to be passionate about it. I told you before, I think I'm pretty good at finding deals and underwriting deals, but I'm not passionate about it. That's why I didn't last in that space. That's why I'm here. I'm super passionate about this, especially with like dementia care and then keeping them engaged and reading all these books to better myself. We're full-time operators now. Sometimes we do have to cover shifts. If you're going to open one, don't think that unless you have funds, sometimes you're going to have to cover shifts. And that's what we've been doing. So until we get to the point where we can hire a full team and then let go and keep our eyes on the future.
Yeah. Yeah, John, one thing that really stands out to me is your willingness to go the extra mile and really do whatever it takes. A lot of people would not have had the courage to fly out to the middle of nowhere, face an investor face to face, tell them, hey, I have some bad news, but you can trust me. And look at that. Look at how much his trust in you and respect in you went up just by having the courage to do that. And I can't imagine the plane ride as you're flying there, thinking about everything that you're going to try and say and what that's going to be like and how that conversation is going to go. And you probably didn't expect the outcome to be like, hey, he trusts me more now and he wants to invest more money. But that's what you have to do. And that's what's so important is if you're taking people's money, you're taking people's capital, like they worked really hard for that. And you're exactly right. We have the responsibility to steward that money as best as we possibly can and get them the best return that we can. And things are going to happen. And if I'm investing money in a deal, I hope they're like you, John.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I truly believe that if we take an investment, we have to communicate whether it's a good news or a bad news. You just got to say that. And if it's a bad news, what are you doing? You always got to have a solution for that. Yeah, it's when you're getting into the space, it's not, and you said it right, people work hard for their money. And I myself have invested in deals that didn't turn out well and we're probably going to lose a lot of money. And that hurts. So I'm on both sides. I've been an investor and I'm also have taken funds from investors because my last commercial real estate gig was we also had a fund. So we had a fund models and we were buying multifamily properties. We had 3 under that fund models. But yeah, it's the same thing, whether it's a fund or syndication, GPLP, joint venture, you got to take care of those funds because it's a relationship at the end of the day that matters the most. So
yeah. Investing in relationships, investing in human capital, that's the most important investment you're going to make in real estate and in business. Let's pivot a little bit, John, if you don't mind, to Aspen Cove. You had mentioned you guys aren't yet at the point where you're able to hire out that full team. Where's Aspen Cove right now in terms of how occupied are you, staff? What are some challenges and some lessons you've learned along the way?
So right now we are capped at 3. So we passed the health life safety code inspection, and I have some really good tips there as well that I can share later. And then we're waiting for the health survey here in Texas. We have 2 parts, right? And that second piece, the health survey, is a surprise visit. So we don't know when they're going to come. It could be anyone. So every time the doorbell rings, I run, and then it's Amazon guy. Just got to wait for that. But right now we're capped at 3. One of our residents just went home. He just went back home because he was in a much better space. So he came here and then he was not the best. He doesn't walk the best. He doesn't talk the best. His mood was not the best. But he went back home because his family saw the change and they decided, hey, you know what? We're going to give it another shot. And take him home. So he was here for a respite stay, 2 months, respite and then long-term for 2 months. And then after that point, the family had decided if they're going to continue or not. Then they decided to take him back home. And he cannot stop talking about us. And a big part of that, I'd like to think that our processes, our care processes did something to him that helped him. But probably most likely it's just luck. We just got lucky with him. Maybe one thing that's different that we did, one thing different that we do is we find that second purpose in life again. So he was a big golfer. So he's been playing golf since he was 17. And then since he hasn't played golf in 3 years, we said, you know what? Let's bring the putting green to you so you can continue playing golf. So that's what he was doing. And
That's
then
awesome.
we made him coach. So finding that special purpose again. So we have fun activities like the bingos and all that coloring, but we also have purposeful activities. So that's a purposeful activity, coaching someone and getting that mentorship from him. So we made him coach. And then one weekend, he got his entire golf set here. He got bored of training one of our care specialists and looked through his bag and then got his driver and he was walking out the door. And then it's like, hey, where are you going? And he never does this. He never goes out the door. He doesn't want to go out. He said, I'm going to hit some balls. Sorry. All right, let's go. So we walked across the street to the lake. I teed him up. And then the first swing missed. But the second swing, it just flew impressively. The ball flew impressively. And everyone was clapping their hands. And then, man, the smile on his face was priceless. And that activity cost us nothing. But his face was like, I still got it. Yeah, I still got this. He was in such good mood. He's been a great mood. And then, yeah, so he went back home. So right now, 3 is all we can have, but we consider that as a win. We consider that as a win. It doesn't normally happen. It's not how it's typically happening in assisted living homes, but that's a win. So we'll take that any day.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. That's an awesome story. Yeah, way to bring those passions back out of him and probably made him feel way more alive. And maybe that's why he ended up going back home thriving. So that's a really key lesson. What were some things you mentioned? You guys had some tips and tricks for the licensing process. What were some things that you learned with that licensing process in Texas?
Yeah. So here in Texas, I think we saw a stat that less than 5% of assisted living homes pass the life safety code, which is the building code, on the first try. And we passed that. So when the inspector came in, I felt people were saying, oh my gosh, this is going to be a long day. So that the inspector had a reputation of being very strict. But here's a tip. Call your Health and Human Services and ask if you can get the name of the person that is going to inspect your home. Typically they cover a district. So you know, and then ask around like how he is, blah, blah, blah. And also when he walks in here or she walks in here, remember they are doing their job to the best of their ability. They're not being difficult to you. Treat them as if this is a business relationship. Get to know them too. They're not just there to nitpick. Get to know them. So during lunch break, we sat down and so he heated his food. You can't give him anything. I chatted with him and we talked about his trips to Portugal, his favorite food and all that. Treat him like as if you're building a business relationship and make it easy for them. So typically you have a stack of binders. So what we did was we had a smaller binder with copies from this big stack to make it easy for him to go through. So we had 2 binders, the full binder, and then a summary with table of contents, and put like tabs in different colors and labels on there to make it super easy for them. So the easier it is for them, the better it's going to be for you. And treat them like a person. And after the inspection, whether you pass or you don't pass, send them a thank you email. I guarantee you, not a lot of people do that. Send them a thank you email for being here. So, and that's what we did. So
that's great advice. Yeah, I'm sure people are not sending the emails if they don't pass, and then it makes things even more tricky.
Assisted living home close, you're probably going to get the same inspector.
Right. Yeah, it's a small world, and you
Yeah.
never know what's going to happen from that
Definitely.
perspective. Yeah, those are some great tips.
Yeah.
Moving forward into the future. So, with
Yeah.
the silver tsunami upon us, how do you see the industry or model evolving and growing in the next 5 to 10 years?
Okay. So as our baby boomers age, right? So it's 10,000 baby boomers retire every day. But there is another stat that is growing even quicker than that rate. That is the rate of people with dementia, right? I think cognitive health is going to be huge moving forward. So here at Aspen Cove, what we do is we really get to know the stage of dementia that they're in, and it's not simply a early, mid, late stage dementia. We use 𝐻𝐵A-SNOW's model. Are you familiar with 𝐻𝐵A-SNOW?
Yeah.
Yeah, the GEMS model, right? So the GEMS model, so each one of them have gems, and those are sapphire, diamonds, and then it goes to green, yellow, red, emerald, amber, ruby, and then pearl. So each one of them have their own profile, and then you can see it on our website. It's called their Heart's ID. Heart's ID is basically if it's like you're going on a dating app, right? So you have the profile, where you were born, your height, and blah blah blah. So we have our ADL score there, the 7 ADLs, and then we score them. We have personal stuff for them from them, as detailed as, say, example, favorite food or favorite songs, or even where they were born. So we can have that conversation with them, and then activities they like, and then fun activities and purposeful activities, and then even like how to start a conversation with them. A resident who is a diamond is different than a resident with an amber. It's a different engagement, and obviously each one of them is uniquely beautiful, so your approach has to be unique as well. So that's how we're different, in that we really get to know who we are taking care of, because that is what we define as true personalized care, because you want to stand out. If you offer the same thing, 24/7 caregivers, housekeeping, 3 meals a day, then you're not going to be able to stand out. So that's how we stand out, by a true personalized approach to care.
That's great. Yeah, folks, 𝐻𝐵A-SNOW, definitely take a look at that. 𝐻𝐵A-SHOW, sorry. Take a look at that. It can be really helpful for folks from that perspective, and completely agree. Once again, Jon, like, you guys just going the extra mile. I think
Yeah.
that's the theme of the podcast, is just going the extra mile for folks, and it's all going to work out, and it's
Yeah.
all going to turn out and probably come back and reward you tenfold. But I know you and the type of guy that you are, and you're not worried about that. You're just worried about going the extra mile, serving as best you can, and then seeing what happens next. So really excited. Yeah, as we kind of wrap things up here, for anyone listening who's on the fence about getting started or getting involved in residential assisted living, what would you say to them?
This is one thing that I really want you to know. If you're starting, you're not here to make more money. You're here to help more, right? You're not here to make more. You're here to help more. And when you help more, then the money will follow, right? So each one of us in this world are equal in souls, but not everyone is equal in the marketplace. So if we can scale the value that we add to people, then their rewards will come. Like, why is Jeff Bezos the richest man in the world? Because he has a big base of customer base, right? So he's adding a lot of value by providing convenience. The same thing for us, right? So we may be equal in souls, but not equal in the marketplace. And our goal is to maximize the value that we put in the marketplace.
Yeah, that is great. Before we go, what's something you're working on right now that you're passionate about?
Right now, we are developing the operating system of Aspen Cove. So here is our method. So we want to crawl, then we want to walk, and then we want to run. So there's no point in advertising heavily and investing a lot on marketing if we don't have a good solution, good operating system yet. You got to focus on the cash flow. So everything is just focusing on building a really good residential assisted living home. And that comes with also cutting back on some of the expenses that we probably is not super important right now. And on marketing, find a way to stand out. I'm going to tell you, probably just do it if you want to do it. But I don't like running, but I joined 5Ks, and the last 5K I joined was, it was a while back. It was a breast cancer awareness. So I dressed up as a giant Pop-Tart, and then I put Aspen Cove, and then it's all pink, obviously it's breast cancer, and a nice quote about breast cancer, and then Aspen Cove logo in the back. And then I ran, and then you're the only one who's going to do that. So people are going to look at you. So people were taking pictures of me, and I was on social media and all that. So you got to be creative. You don't have to be confined with social media posts or whatnot. If you could, and that cost me $34 for that costume. So you got to be creative. But we're building our funnels through establishing relationships with placement agents. But really, the heavy focus, Alex, is building a very good residential assisted living home that's different from everyone else. Here.
I think we should use the pink Pop-Tart picture for the cover art of this.
Let's do it.
No, but that's great. And what a unique way to market and get almost free marketing, $34 marketing in front of tons of folks who are one day going to need an amazing assisted living home like Aspen Cove. What a great way to do that. Jon, if folks want to learn more from you and reach you, how can they do that? How can they reach out to you?
Yeah. Send me an email, Jon, Jon, at Aspen Cove Care, aspencovecare.com. So Jon at aspencovecare.com. And you can visit our website, aspencoveassistedliving.com. I do have 2 more things that I wanted to share with everyone that have really helped me recently. And these are 2 books that I just finished. One is Be Immortal. Be Immortal. It's a book by Atul Gawande. It has amazing reviews on Amazon. And a second book, which is somewhat newer, it's called Reversing Alzheimer's by Dr. Sandison. Until recent, people think that Alzheimer's cannot be reversed, but there are studies coming from, I think, 2020 that they took a test before and after, and then they were able to reverse some of those symptoms. Not all of them, but they were able to reverse some. And it's a big part of it is engagement and diet and toxins. But yeah, Be Immortal and then Reversing Alzheimer's are 2 of the things that I think would be nice to take along this journey.
Yeah, Being Immortal is a fantastic book, and it really does a good job at explaining like the aging process and where we're headed with the baby boomer generation and things to look out for. And it'll definitely help folks listening to this kind of understand the benefits of residential assisted living, although he's not really talking about it, but you'll understand the benefits of it. And you'll see, hey, how can I provide better care by understanding the physiology a little bit more, by understanding the aging process a little bit more. And so, yeah, that's a fantastic book. I just wrote down Reversing Alzheimer's. I haven't read that yet, so I'll add it to the list.
That's really good. Yeah. That's really good.
That's great. Yeah, we'll include those in the show notes. Yeah, what was that?
For YouTube, because you're in the medical field. I think they go through the science of it there, so you're gonna like it. So
I would love that. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for that and for those tips there, and thanks again, Jon, for all your knowledge that you shared today and sharing your insights and sharing some struggles and some difficulties. It was really honorable of you to do that. So I really appreciate that, and it's been a pleasure learning from your experience.
Thank you, Alex. And I hope your listeners and viewers will find value in this one. And if you feel down, you're going through some rough patches, remember that when you're about to enter your next level self, God or the universe, or whatever your religious belief is, it's going to give you something super hard that you have to go through in order to be your next level. And so hopefully you go back to this video and feel inspired.
Couldn't agree more. That's a great way to wrap things up. Jon, thanks so much for your time. Hope you have a great rest of the night. And thank you, everyone who is listening.
Thank you, Alex.
Awesome.
Thank you for tuning in to the RAL Room Assisted Living Podcast. We hope you found today's episode insightful. If you enjoyed it, make sure to leave us a raving 5-star review. And a quick review helps more listeners find the show and more seniors get the exceptional care they deserve. And don't forget to subscribe so you never miss an episode. And just so you know, we have prepared some free resources for you to help you succeed in residential assisted living in addition to this podcast. Head over to theralroom.com, that is the RAL room.com, to download our free 10-step guide to launch your first or next residential assisted living home, or our 10 reasons to passively invest in residential assisted living ebooks. And if you're ready to take the next step and make real moves in the RAL industry, join us in the RAL Room Mastermind. It is an exclusive community where we deep dive into everything you need to launch and grow your own residential assisted living business. You'll get access to recorded courses, live calls with industry experts, a RAL calculator, resources and tools, like-minded entrepreneurs, funding opportunities, and an expert networking community to help you along your journey.
Be sure to join us next time on the RAL Room podcast as we continue to explore the world of residential assisted living with more great guests. See you then.